All right, good to have the Webers back with us, and Brother Chuck, I'm going to ask you to come on. I'm going to get this thing set up for you, and then.
All right, sounds great. Thank you again for letting us be here. And I love Pastor looked it up, and tomorrow will be 9 years. Is that correct, yeah, Pastor? Yeah. 9 years y'all been supporting us. And so tonight we're just going to take a few minutes, and share with you what God has been doing in Mongolia. How many of you remember 9 years ago? All right, a couple of us. I remember 9 years, but I don't remember everything. And we had, at that time, we had 5 of our children were with us traveling, and God took us in 2017 to the country of Mongolia. And since then, we're down to 1 that's of age that would be old enough to return. And so we're going to just share some things and what you've had a part in by supporting us and our ministry in Mongolia. Can everybody see if I stand here? We're good? All right. This is our picture. You know Mongolia is there, located between China and Russia. And that's me and my wife, and our youngest son, Clay, is left. Clay will be 14 in July 4th. Next Monday, the 8th, me and my wife will celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary. So I'm praising the Lord. She is stuck with me. Amen. Here's just some of our information. The picture there shows kind of what the capital city, Ulaanbaatar, where we live, is. And that is, you got the modern buildings, yet you still have the traditional thoughts and things there. Mongolia, of course, is located between China and Russia. There's over 3.5 million people in the country of Mongolia, and but over about half of that, closer to maybe a third of 1.7, live in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. So the rest of the country is very dense populated, not very many people. So the Lord has placed us there in the capital city. Unique thing about that is when the students, they graduate from their local high schools or whatever, and they want to go further their education, they come to the capital city to be able to go to colleges, unless they try to go outside of their country. But many of those students will come in and they'll stay. They won't go back to their small villages or towns. And so it's a growing place. We think of Mongolia, we think of the yurt. And you think of the round, they call that a ger. Of course, it's very portable. They can put one up, take one down within just a couple hours. You see in the middle, there's the wood-burning stove. And that's very important, where it gets pretty cold at times there in Mongolia. But this is what you think of traditionally. This is what the Mongolians would live in. You think of the 2-hump camel. That's what's the natural animal there. It'll roam wild and free. These particular ones, someone had them and uses them to put tourists on to have camel rides. And I've not ridden a camel, and I'm not interested. Amen. But some of my kids have, and they've enjoyed it. The other thing we think about is the horses that they have, and this was outside of our house there in the southern part of Ulaanbaatar, and these horses actually belonged to somebody, but they just were roaming free, and it was really unique to see. But we think about these things when we think of traditional Mongolia, but this is the capital city. It's a modern city. There's big buildings. Before we left, we were staying in a 14-story apartment building. And you think about these things. Here's another picture of the capital city. And you can see the big buildings there. You see at the bottom of the screen, you can see a couple of those little round gers or yurts. And that's kind of what you'll see is on the outskirts of the town, they'll have what they call the ger districts. That's somewhere some of the poorer people may live, and then on into the city, and you'll see the bigger. So it gets you a little bit different idea. Here's just another picture. You can see the modern buildings, the modern things that are going on. It's not as primitive as sometimes you would think. But again, they're steeped in their religion. This is traditional. Mongolians believe in Buddhism. About 50% of all Mongolians believe in Buddhism. Next to that would be what's called shamanism, which is the spiritism. We think of witch doctors, and they have shamans and things like that. But everything within their culture has got that somewhat of that Buddhist mindset. Here's a Buddhist statue there in the southern part of the capital city. People go there. They do the prayer wheels, all those things. This is what's called an avul. This is a shaman Buddhist kind of mixed thing. But you'll see these on the mountaintops, and they go up there, they'll place different items and things and make a prayer to the spirit of the mountain, and just trying to get blessings from that. Here's another one of those near there. Here's a picture of a shaman. This Mongolian man there on your right is asking for a blessing, asking for some advice from the shaman. That shaman, you can kind of see them that they put on all this stuff. There is a hat and a mask that comes, and usually it's just drawn. Almost looks like from ash from a fire or something. They like eyes and nose, and that they'll take that drum which you see in there. That person's, I don't know if that's a woman or a man right there, but the left hand, and they'll begin to beat that drum and dance around, and then they'll fall on the ground. And when they do that, they begin to speak, and they begin to say whatever they say and give the blessing or tell them what they want to know about. And basically what it is that person becomes demon possessed. At that moment, we have a lady that I'll introduce to you here in a minute. Her cousin was a shaman, got saved by the grace of God. But he said, when I was doing that, I would beat my drum, and then he said, I would leave my body and go somewhere in the sky. He said, and then when I came back, I had no idea what happened. And so this is what the people believe in. This is what their religion is, and it's a fear-based religion. Both the Buddhist lam and the shaman will, through fear, try to get you to do what they want you to do. And so we don't want to do that. We teach them about the love of Christ. We've been there now the last 4 years. I've been the pastor of the church, and the main one leading. Our partners that were there, the Richies, Brother Jason during COVID, got COVID really bad, was very close to death, and wasn't able to return on a full-time basis. So the Lord allowed us the privilege of taking over the ministries and for a time there. And then we've got a young couple now that's working with us, the Smutzler family, and they're doing a great job even in our absence now. Here I'm teaching on Jonah. Yona is what that says there. And like I told you this morning, I'm not able to preach and teach in Mongolian, so God has gifted us this young man God's used as our translator. And I'll share him with Pastor. He's one of the ones that teaches now. On Wednesday nights, we do a rotation. I'll teach. Brother Cameron, our other missionary, will teach. And then we have two other men that teach, and he's one now. And so the Lord has allowed us to begin training, and that's one of the things that we've been able to do. We've had a Bible college, and right before we came back last June, we were able to graduate 4. You see 4 graduates there. And we've had 8 total over the last 8 years. But this last 4, you see there, the gentleman in I'll just, all of them real quick. All the way to the left with the tie on, that's Pastor Tuksu. Pastor Tuksu was in our very first graduating class, and he is pastoring an indigenous church now, started by a missionary, but he is now pastoring there and doing a great job. God allowed me and Brother Jason both to train him in our Bible college and ordain him into the ministry. And we're so thankful he now teaches in our Bible college and helps in those areas as well. The next gentleman right next to him, one of our newest graduates, has already started a church in the Gobi Desert. And he's been working that next to him. And we'll skip the lady in the middle. The 2 in the middle graduates in the cap and gowns are brother and sister, and they're both serving in their church, their home churches, working there. I believe the young man on the right is working with his teams in his church. Then the guy standing next to me is wanting to start a church, wanting to really just do whatever God would have him to do. And so we're working with him, trying to find a place either where he can go start a church or where God would place him in. The lady in the middle was in our first graduating class. She is also our language teacher, and she's been a blessing. She translates into Bible college for me verbally, and she also teaches some of our like history and Mongolian language, Mongolian type classes there. So we're training others also to do the work. Lord, if something were to happen and every missionary were to be kicked out of Mongolia, we have fruit that hopefully would remain. And we have 2 others that have graduated in our previous graduating class, and I'll share a little bit about them in a minute. Now, one of the unique things is we are not able, as missionaries, we have a little bit more difficult. We can't just go knocking on doors and things like that, the same as you can here. The Mongolians, I believe, have a little more freedom to that, but it's kind of ambiguous because of their laws and things. Whoever's in charge of that district, that area, can say yes or no. Even to like if you wanted to have a church registered with the government, they may say, oh, we have enough Christian churches. No. But you go to the other district and he might say yes. So it's very ambiguous. So one of the things that we've done is we use events and things like that to reach people. And again, you as well as I know that sometimes people won't just rush into the doors of the church, but they'll come to some events. Here's a lady's, we did a baby shower for a young lady in our church that's a Christian, and she's been married and was actually a Christian wedding, one of the first Christian weddings many of their relatives have seen. And so we were having a baby shower for her. Many of the family came. They wouldn't necessarily come to church, but they came to the baby shower. And of course, we present the gospel. We use multiple things. Here's an outing we had with our teenagers. What does that rock look like? What does it look like? It looks like a turtle. What do you think it's called? No, it's called Yulsmilhi. Oh, that's Mongolian. But yes, and translates to turtle rock. We had two young teenagers come that hadn't come to church, and again shared the gospel. This man you see there by the window, he's our other graduate. He teaches in our church, works with our children's ministry, and here's a VBS. Every year we have a VBS. I think we had over 30-something children there every day. Some of those parents won't let them go to church, but they'll go to a program for kids. And of course, what he's sharing there is we took an airplane, folded it up, and taught them, an airplane can take you all over the world. But if you tear it in a certain way, open it up, it's a cross. But there's only one way to heaven. And so we presented the gospel. Here's a picture I was able to preach at a revival of our Pastor Tuksu. Able to be there, and what a blessing that was. They were meeting in a ger. And so you can see there, it's kind of the inside of that big ger, and we were able to let God's open up doors. They've now built a building, and so we're so thankful that they're able to do that. Makes it much nicer when it's negative 20, 30, 40 degrees to have a building. Now, it costs a lot of money, but it's a lot easier to heat and things in that than the ger there. One of the things that we were able to do at a holiday, we hosted a holiday, the Saganzar, New Moon. And it's the biggest holiday they have there. They go from house to house visiting. They start with their oldest matriarch and go over down and visit all their family, all their friends. By the end of the 3 and 4 days, they're full of food and drink and they're tired. But the Lord allowed us. We had a Saganzar for all our church people. They came. That's that same translator teaching a lesson that night. And so we're thankful for all that God is doing, sharing the gospel. Here's an outing in the countryside. All those people, some of them have not heard the gospel, but they got to hear it because they came to eat some good food and hang out in the countryside, get some fresh air. Here's a picture of some of the ladies hanging out with the horses in the background. Here's in the very back, you see the man holding a baby and the lady in the, I guess that's orange. Is that an orange shirt? Something like that. Standing by my wife. That is a man and his wife. He is the brother of our translator lady that I showed you the picture in the middle. And he's not saved. But he cooks this food I like called jimby. It's fried goat or sheep with potatoes. It's just really good. And first time I ate it, he cooked it. I said, man, this is awesome. So now he cooks jimby. He wants his big American friend to come eat. But he invited us over because they had had a baby. And they wanted us to come and see their baby. And we're praying that God will use this relationship. Everyone around that table is a Christian other than them. And so we're praying that God will use that influence to reach him for the cause of Christ. Here's a Children's Day. We were able to give out gifts. They would come. My son Clay was able to invite our neighbor. And he and his mom came. Again, wouldn't come to church, but they came to a special Sunday because we were giving out gifts and had a special... Was that on Sunday or Saturday? I don't remember, but we had a special day giving gifts to children, honoring Children's Day and all that. And he came and they heard the gospel, best I know, for the very first time. What a blessing it is. God gave us opportunity at a local YMCA. My friend there, the translator, he's involved in the YMCA there, and he said, hey, can you teach basketball and English? And I said, okay. But unfortunately, that because of the organization, I couldn't just share the gospel outright. But I told him I'd do it and helped him. And you can't see it as well, but in the background, there's a couple of those guys back there playing basketball. And I think it was two of those guys, because some of our kids from our church was in my class for basketball and English, invited them to our church. They came to church. And guess what they got to hear? A clear presentation of the gospel. Again, probably for the very first time. You see, we're dealing with first-generation Christians. Most of the adults in our church, they didn't grow up in a home that Christianity was taught. Probably they were told Christianity is a Western religion. We don't need that. We're Mongolians. We believe in Buddhism or shamanism. And that's what they are taught. God also allowed us through Pastor Tuksu, his church, to have, they rented a gym for a day and had a volleyball competition. What was it, 60, 80? I can't remember. We'll say 60 to be conservative. Teenagers there to play volleyball and win a medal, win a competition. And of course we were there helping be a part of all that. In the middle of the day we break. We were giving them some sandwiches, a little bit of food and something to drink. Of course, what are we going to do? Share the gospel. Pastor Tuksu was able to share the gospel with over 60 young people. Many won't come to church, but they'll come play volleyball and they've heard the gospel for the very first time. Very briefly, I talked about their belief in, oh my goodness, Pastor, I just realized the time. I'm so sorry. This lady here in the middle is the mom of one of our ladies in our church. She'll tell her friends, you need to talk to Ebe about her God. Although she hasn't trusted Christ, and it's because she's afraid of what others will think or say if she trusts Christ. It's a very big, strong hold. I'm just going to run through the rest of these pictures. Again, now we're reaching second generation Christians. This is a young man that is one of our ladies in our church, her son, and now we're teaching them how they can know the Lord Jesus Christ. People we're reaching, have reached because of you. Helping us, supporting us, and we're so thankful for that. We ask that you continue to pray for us. We're at a point right now, we're looking at having to make a transition, probably coming back to the States, maybe pastoring, things like that. My wife's father's at the point where we're going to probably have to have him, we're going to have to take care of him. And so some of those transitions, but God's already provided. The young couple's already there. They've been doing everything for the last year, so we're so thankful for all that God has done. And now we're going to look forward to seeing what He's going to do. Thank you, Pastor.